Okay, next I want to show you the COUNTIF function. The COUNTIF function is very similar to the SUMIF function in that we're telling Excel to look for one set of criteria that we specify and add something together if it meets that criteria. So with the SUMIF, we're telling Excel to add numbers together, and with the COUNTIF, we're going to be telling Excel to count cells, count the number of cells that actually meet certain criteria. So we're going to be on our Math tab, and we're going to be counting the number of cells that show students with scores in the proficient range and the not proficient range. So let's get started on that. We're going to start with teacher 1, and I'm going to come up here to the number proficient, and I want to count the number of cells for each of my students that have a score of proficient, so 80 or higher. So in this cell, I'm going to type in equal count if, and parentheses, and now it's going to ask me what my range is. So my range is going to be the numbers that, or the cells that we want Excel to be looking at. So I'm going to highlight my scores for my beginning of year testing, and that's going to be my range. I'm going to do my comma, and now my criteria is going to be, I want to count any of these cells if they show a score that is greater than 79. Because 80 is going to be our proficient number that we're looking for, 80 and higher. So I'm going to hit return, and it's showing me that 0 students or 0 cells are showing a number greater than 79. I'm going to skip the partial proficient for now. I'm going to come here to not proficient, and I'm going to do the exact same thing, equal count if. I'm going to highlight the range again. These are the cells that I'm wanting it to look for. Comma, my criteria now is going to say anything that is less than 70. So anything with a score less than 70 is clearly not proficient. I'm going to close that out with my parentheses, and I'm going to hit return. So out of 20 cells with information in them, 20 of them are showing me a number that is less than 70. So let's do that again for our mid-year and our end-year testing and see if we can see growth in our students. So come over here, equal count if. Now my range is going to be my mid-year boxes or my mid-year cells, comma. The criteria again is going to say anything greater than 79, quotation marks to close out my statement that I want it to look for, and parentheses to close out the entire function, and return. So by mid-year now I have 5 students or 5 cells showing me a number that is greater than 79. Skip the partial proficient. Let's go to our not proficient. Equal count if. And again, same criteria or same range. I'm going to collect the test scores, comma. The criteria again is now going to be less than 70. Quotation marks. Remember, quotation marks is telling exactly what I want it to look for. Close out the formula with my parentheses and return. So now I've got 13 not proficient and 5 proficient. That does not equal the number 20, which tells me that there are 2 cells in here that we're going to be looking at in our next video when we look at our partial proficient data. So next let's come over here to the end year, and same thing, equal count if any of these cells show a number, so comma, that is greater than 79. Quotation marks, parentheses, and return. I now have 13 cells that are showing a number that is greater than 79. Skip my partial proficient, go to not proficient, equal, count the cells if this range right here, my end year scores, comma, now moving on to my criteria, quotation marks, anything less than 70, quotation marks and parentheses. Going to hit return, and now I have 4. So again, now I have 17 students total, or 17 boxes or cells that are meeting the criteria that I've set, which tells me in the next video we're going to get to see some numbers being plugged into our partial proficient. So just again, the count if, it's going to have you specify a range. Our range is going to be our test scores, and the one set of criteria, so for proficient, the one set of criteria is anything that is over 79, And for our not proficient, our criteria is anything that is less than 70. We're having it count the cells.